Friday the 13th is one of my favorite franchises of all time, but when I was looking at the Lost Media Wiki, I noticed that there are a few pages on the wiki dedicated to the Friday the 13th series. And with me being a fan, I noticed that there isn't even one Friday the 13th Lost Media video. So I think I'll make this one the first one, I guess. I don't know, dude. This is the Lost Media of Friday the 13th. Number 1, Friday the 13th Part 3 Alternate Endings. Completely lost. Friday the 13th Part 3 is the second sequel to the cult classic film Friday the 13th, and it was originally intended to be the final installment of the series. It is also notable for being the first entry in the series where Jason has his hockey mask. The movie is also notable for having 2 alternate deleted scenes that never saw the light of day. This is the first ending described. After killing Jason in our barn, our main hero, Chris, pushes herself onto the middle of the lake in a canoe, where she falls asleep. Then the next morning she wakes up to hear Rick, one of her friends, calling for her from the cottage. Chris makes her way into the cottage to greet Rick, but instead he sees an ambushed Jason. Now unmasked, wielding a machete, Jason grabs Chris and decapitates her. The next scene shows Chris in the back of a police car screaming frantically as the police try to comfort her, and then it drives off and fades away. This sequence was filmed, and we have pictures to back that up. But it was never used. Instead, a scene depicting Mrs. Voorhees with a weird maggot-filled head drags Chris under the lake. The reason for the change was because the creators felt that killing off the heroine would have been way too depressing for this franchise, which I can disagree with because they killed off Alice Hardy in Friday the 13th Part 1. This is the second alternate ending. This is the ending that plays out similar to the official ending, with a few notable differences. For one thing, Ali, one of the bikers from the movie, survives his encounter with Jason, which he kind of did in the official movie, except he kind of didn't. With a few noticeable differences. For one of the most notable ones is that Ali actually kills Jason, I guess, sort of. Well, not actually kill him because it's a Friday the 13th film. He survives his encounter from Jason, which I've already said. Chris walks away from a now dead Jason. Also, when the cops show up to survey the area, we see that Jason's body is missing. Kind of like the ending of Halloween. Like where where Michael falls out of the window and then his body's never found. Hinting that he survived. The ending was never filmed, however. It was later rewritten in favor of the first alternate ending, which itself ended up getting replaced. The evidence that these endings exist. The first alternate ending has never been released for home video. Many fans of Paramount think that Paramount still owns the negatives, which I actually have my own theory on this. A few years ago, there was this book written about the complete history of Friday the 13th called Crystal Lake Memories. I was actually watching an interview with the author of the book, and he told the person interviewing him that Paramount gave him a whole bunch of stuff with Friday the 13th stuff in it. So it's possible that he might have it. So if you want to see the alternate endings, then contact him on Twitter. Anyways, back to what I was saying. It's long theoried that the negatives were destroyed in recent years. The ending was mentioned in the said book that I mentioned earlier, Crystal Lake Memories, The Complete History of Friday the 13th, which documents the entire Friday the 13th series. Since then, still images have emerged onto the internet. Many of them appear in the Camp Crystal Lake Memories book, which have been giving some fans a glimmer of hope that this ending could possibly be released someday. While the other alternate ending was never filmed, it was used in the novelization of the film. Which begs the question, why not just use the original? I personally own all of the movies on Blu-ray, and I even have the special features, and it doesn't show the two lost endings. I'm a pretty big fan of Friday the 13th, and I was pretty bummed out to notice that they were gone. However, I can understand that they don't release them because they haven't been found yet. So let's just hope that a new director's cut of the film gets released where both alternate endings are in the movie. However, that's probably not going to happen here anytime soon. Friday the 13th Part 2 deleted scenes, which are found, but I think I'll put them on the list anyway. The 1981 cult classic horror film Friday the 13th Part 2 was submitted a total of 8 times to the MPAA, being given each an X rating each time it was submitted. I mean, come to think of it, is it really that bad of a film if you're having to get fake heads, which are noticeably fake, but people in 1981 weren't as, I'm not going to say they weren't as smart, because I have people who were around in 1981 in my family, obviously. 48 seconds of violent shots for the film were subsequently trimmed for the theatrical release, and these are included but not limited to blood flow from the cut of Alice Hardy being stabbed in the temple with an ice pick, which, fun fact, she actually was accidentally stabbed with an ice pick in an accident in the shoot, which is pretty interesting. Crazy Ralph's death had initially been more graphic, with him choking to death and piercing his skin, which, that sounds like a X-rated Rob Zombie music video. I want to see that. Oh wait, it's on my thing. There was originally blood flow after Jason's hammer clawed into the police officer's head. Additional blood flow was cut from the shot of Jason's slicing Scotty's throat. Mark's death was edited somewhat. Originally, you could see Jason approaching behind him, and then there was a reverse camera angle showing the machete going into Mark's face. The infamous impalement scene was originally going to show penetrating both Jeff and Sandra, which I am not going to show on camera because I don't want to get this video age restricted. A still from the scene was published in a Fangoria article before the movie was released, and later reused as a picture on the back of the VHS release. Additionally, the sex scene between Sandra and Jeff was longer and included full-on frontal nudity from the actress Marta Cobbert, but when Paramount Studios discovered she was underage, they ordered the footage to be removed. Which makes this story kind of messed up, because don't you think Steve Miner would have, contacted her freaking parents about that scene if she was underage? Well, not even contacted her parents about it. I mean, how did they not know that she was underage? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you could usually tell when somebody's pretty young. Is that just me? But here's a little bit of input on this one. The Marta Cobbert nude scene is actually lost, but we can't count that because that could be considered child porn, and we all know that child porn is illegal. And the reason it got cut is because they don't want to go to prison, so it's not going to be found. In short, that deleted scene doesn't need to be found because it could be classified as child porn. An additional deleted scene was also cut in the ending of Friday the 13th Part 2, where Pamela Voorhees' severed head opens its eyes and smiles in freeze frame and open before the credits roll, which was cut by director Steve Miner, who decided that it lessened the movie's impact. Which, to be honest, think if it did do that, then it would probably not have been so effective. The YouTuber Mr. Chickenhead43 uploaded the uncut kills to his YouTube channel. I'll link both of his videos into the description. Here are the photos. I'm not going to show the impalement photo because I do not want to risk this video getting age restricted. If you want to see the impalement scene, then all I can say is that it's not hard to find. With that being said, here are the pictures. Friday the 13th, Part 13, canceled film. 2017, production materials found. For this, there isn't any footage to my knowledge, but there is a script online and some sculptures of Jason that were meant to be used to design the character, of which I'm going to show on screen right now. When Paramount acquired the rights to the Friday the 13th series in 2013, plans for a new movie began almost instantly. However, with numerous changes to the directors and writers on the film and a drawn-out production time, the project was canceled. Sadly, I want a new Friday the 13th movie, and so far Halloween is kicking your butt. Friday the 13th. Very little is known about the screenplay. Writer David Bruckner, I probably butchered that, described it as a 80s coming-of-age monster movie with a found footage style of filming similar to movies like The Blair Witch Project and Cannibal Holocaust. Development quickly changed when Nick Antosca, I probably butchered his name too, Antosca was brought into the film to write a more traditional slasher film. The second screenplay, titled Friday the 13th 3D, would have taken place in the summer of 1988, with much more focus on centered around the camp counselors. It's revealed that Jason didn't actually die as he drowned as a young boy, and he's been living in the woods in Camp Crystal Lake for years. Chaos ensues as the camp counselors attempt to kill Jason, each time making him stronger. The script ends with the last surviving counselor leaving town, and only to discover that Jason is still alive. Director Adam Bruckner was still on set to work on the project. There was even plans for a sequel during that time in the winter. And it never came to fruition. It never came out. Very bad frustration, in my opinion. The final screenplay was the draft film that had most development time and was very closely to completion. Now known as Friday the 13th, Part 13, the film was to take place in Camp Crystal Lake in 1977, which, fun fact, that's 2 years before the original Friday the 13th took place. So, I guess it wouldn't take... My theory is that it wouldn't have Jason as the killer. 2 camp counselors are murdered atop of the camp's fire lookout tower by a man wearing a sack mask. The audience is to assume that the masked man is Jason. However, we're soon to learn that it's a lie. I don't know how to say Jason's dad's name, so I'll just call him Mr. Voorhees. Mr. Voorhees, Jason's father. Which doesn't make any sense. We all know what happened in Friday the 13th Part 5 with the copycat killer. I mean, I liked Friday the 13th Part 5, but not a whole lot of people do. The film is focused on Mr. Voorhees. Mr. Voorhees is ultimately killed by his wife, Pamela Voorhees, in a fit of rage. And the movie focuses on her, which isn't a surprise, I knew it. After witnessing her son drown, after the second half of the film plays out much like the first Friday the 13th movie, ultimately, it would have been 3 killers in the movie. Mr. Voorhees, Pamela, and Jason. After watching his mother die, Jason would go on a full rampage for the rest of the film, which he is ultimately defeated. As for production, David Bruckner and Nick Entoska. These guys have really butcherable last names, so I apologize if y'all have last names like that. We're no longer involved in the project. Instead, Breck Eisner was set to direct the film, which Aaron Guzkowski, these guys all have butcherable names, said the movie would be a hard R and was planned to be filmed mainly in Georgia. Originally scheduled to be released on Friday, May 13th, 2016. It was later pushed back to January 13th, 2017, before being pushed back to October 13th, 2017, before ultimately just being canceled. It was expected to start filming in early spring to meet its October release. Soda FX was hired to work on the effects for the film. It is still unclear as to why Paramount canceled the film so far into production, because honestly, why would you, if you're already starting to make like sculptures for a character and then you're just going to cancel a film like before you've even shot anything for it, that's just bad judgment in my opinion. Many speculate the poor box office of the movie Rings, another horror reboot produced by Paramount, was to blame. And if that's the case, that's just absurd. The release date changing frequently was also a cause of concern, as well to numerous changes in directors and writers. Paramount, when are you ever going to learn? On December 1st of 2020, Lost Media Wiki user YoshiKiller2S was sent a copy of the final draft of the film by a Redditor known as Magnan33. Yoshi later uploaded the script later that morning, so he can say that this case is closed. And I don't really have anything else to say about it. Other than that, yeah. Tommy Jarvis's cutscene in the Friday the 13th, 2009 reboot. I can't really say anything much about this one because it's not on the Lost Media Wiki. In fact, the only thing I could find was a Screen Rant article on the matter. I can't find any tangible proof of this scene. There's no clips, no screenshots, no audio. I don't even know if it was filmed. Well, that's it for now, I guess. Thanks for watching. Next video will be, well, I'm not really sure. I plan to make a video series by the end of the year that is just all of my Lost Media videos. I plan to make a video on Lost music and Lost horror movie media in general. So yeah, if you liked what you heard and saw, then stay tuned and maybe subscribe. If you didn't like it, leave a dislike and tell me why in the comments section. Anyways, I'm gonna get out of here. Y'all have a good night.